Welcome back. It's a rags to riches story for the city of Saskatoon that appears to be almost overnight. But there's been a spiritual story in the making dating back to the town's foundation in the late 1880s. The influence of its early Christian settlers is one that many will tell you can still be felt today.
Saskatoon is quite unique in the sense that it was founded on religion. And so there's this core value there all the time, I think, that goes through the community.
This mayor's city was built on a dream, literally. In 1881, a Methodist minister from Toronto awoke to a sense God had told him to head west and build a city for God. He took the railway to the end of the line, Moose Jaw. Reverend Lake headed north from there by wagon trail, equipped with $4 million in donations that folks in Toronto had given to build the city for God. Along the way, he met Chief Whitecap, one of the first settlers of Saskatchewan. Chief Whitecap knew just where Reverend Lake's temperance colony should be built. That's now Saskatoon. Archives of Lake's first sermon show grand hope that all nationalities would be refreshed here.
Well, Saskatchewan's growth really has, I think, left a bit of our First Nations people behind in some respects.
Saskatchewan has the highest Aboriginal population in Canada, so it's a lab of sorts for getting integration right.
We currently see approximately 1 in 5 elementary students in the province of Saskatchewan being of First Nations descent, and we're currently only graduating approximately half of those kids going into high school.
Childhood in Saskatchewan was a great foundation for Professor Ottman.
Well, I wouldn't trade growing up anywhere else other than in Saskatchewan, just because of what Saskatchewan is.
But still, she felt her community was on the margins.
You know, what it does is you do have these societal beliefs that aren't challenged, and they do, in one way or another, seep into our belief systems, our individual belief systems.
She now thinks the way forward is relational.
I think the challenges that we have in moving forward are still based on our attitudes and our belief systems, because generally, those attitudes, those belief systems, those values are reflected in our policies. They're reflected in the laws that we make and how people who deliver those policies implement them.
Meanwhile, others pray for the right attitudes and structures to be in place for success. Last year, this prayer bus of the local ministerial prayed over Aboriginal projects. This year, the ministers are praying for businesses.
This is the first time something like this has happened in 35 years in business for us.
Even with Saskatchewan's renowned work ethic, God's help is welcome.
You know, it's not always easy. Like, the business doesn't fly in the door. You have to work at it, you have to be dedicated, but you have to rely on the Lord to direct your paths.
We pray on a weekly basis for God to guide us in our business and in decisions that are being made at the top, as well as guidance for our foremen and protection for all of our workers.
It's definitely the blessing of God that's worked through us. We've been through a lot of trying times over the years, but he's definitely showed his blessing to us.
Some think faith is a backbone to success here.
It has a lot to do with the values and ethic base that we see in a lot of Saskatoon and Saskatchewan businesses, because there is such a heavy component of a heavy Christian background and upbringing for so many of them, and this fact that there is these values continuing on today can only be a sound platform, a good basis for solid business practices.
And the bus moves on, even stopping for the corporate chaplain that is shared by 3 leading businesses here.
We feel that if our people are cared for and looked after and have some spiritual guidance and some an ability to reach out to those that are in need within our workforce, that those we can see lives changed, and lives changed will make better employees.
And care for the vulnerable is something getting built into Saskatchewan's growth strategy.
We have a new program that's going to be released very shortly, that people, for example, can buy homes with an income of about $38,000 annually.
Take, for example, these once low-income homes. In 2004, they sold for only $19,000. This one just went for $249,000.
With a home, you get stability. So those things are really important to Saskatoon.
Even the churches are getting in on the growth.
We're not in a kind of a maintenance mode, just trying to hold on to structures and keep it all going, but there's a real dynamism, there's a real attentiveness to people's needs, there's a real desire to engage in the culture, there's a desire to find new ways to communicate the hope that is within us.
It's a $28 million project, the first cathedral to be built in Canada since the 60s.
We're striving to be faithful and to be meeting the needs of people, bringing the gospel and the sacraments to our people and engaging with the wider culture.
And as Saskatchewan's most famous ambassador looks at the role of faith in her home province,
I grew up in a small town, 1,500 people. You did everything that you did in life in either the church basement or the Legion Hall. Those were the gathering points, the community gathering points. And it gives you a very special perspective and view, because the church was really about community, less so than straight up religion. It was about really practicing the values as opposed to listening to them explained.
if church leaders like the political leaders tomorrow were to ask you to come speak to their convention, do you have an idea what you'd like to challenge them with?
I was talking recently to a pastor at an Anglican church who volunteered to become sort of the pastor of the kids' hockey league. So that means he's there, he's going to the games, he's showing up, he's making himself relevant.
When we come back, we hear more from the People's Premier, Saskatchewan's Brad Wall.
Saskatchewan is a special place of boundless potential. Our people are constantly striving for something greater.
What do you like about Saskatchewan?
I think it's a very peaceful place, very beautiful.
There's always other businesses opening up, so yeah, we're definitely growing, so I guess you'll get a good job.